Dear Venerable Sirs, Dhamma friends, we are going to have today Dhamma talk. May everyone settle down for the talk, and you can say it 3 times, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Namo tasse bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Nago satte bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhasse. Punnaca parang udaayi akkhata maya savakanang patipada yatha patipannami savaka chattaro sammapadana bhaventi ti. Dear sirs, Dhamma friends, we are proceeding along this particular sutta known as Maha Sakuludaayi Sutta, and so far the Buddha himself enumerating one after the other the qualities or attributes of himself, whereby disciples are venerating, respecting and revering him, and feel like live in dependence upon him with this veneration and respect. The last aspect the Buddha present is, even though he is having all the qualities and enough for someone to develop the credibility and the trust, he attributes his last quality. He is teaching others not only by exemplifying and not only setting a role model, he is teaching exactly the technology, the methodology, the patipada, and that is why, and it is very systematic, that is why they have to live independence. Even though they wish and even though they have their own separate thinking, no one can assimilate the correct path. So therefore it is a duty of the Buddha to give step-by-step instructions, and others has to follow it meticulously and live in dependence upon him. And he not giving any magical formula. He is not giving any unhuman thing. He gives kind of a rational, pragmatic formula. And even if you are not practicing, or even if you are not interested in, you can see rationality behind. And that is how someone develop this kind of veneration and respect. In that respect, the first and foremost thing he prescribes these 4 foundation of mindfulness, or simply we can say the introduction of mindfulness and how to establish it, how to get well-founded the mindfulness, and that itself, yesterday we try to understand. First you take your own very body, the corporeality, and the very body you can use in number of ways. As we read in the Satipatthana Sutta, in 2 places, the Digha Nikaya and Majjhima Nikaya, along the discourses and the medium type, everything start in focusing on the in-breath and out-breath. That's one of the aspect of your corporeality, materiality. And then for postures, you can be aware of your posture, for cardinal postures. And then the shifting of the postures or posture junctions. And then you can be aware how the 4 elements working within in-breath and out-breath, or within the rising and falling of the abdomen, or within the left leg and the right leg, or within the posture, or when and where you change the posture junctions, and then the repulsivity of the body, and comparing it with different stages of corpse the first day after the death, and a few days likewise. Many ways you can put your body into this lab and see in different ways. So this is the starting point. So therefore, according to the Thero, the calculation, having a human body is an endowment. It's a blessing. It is nothing negative. It is nothing nihilistic. So nothing to feel any guilt, nothing to feel anything, because you are having a human body. In suttas like Pottapada, the Buddha recognizes that Attapatilabha, it's you are going to have it because of your good or wholesome karmic forces of the past life. So therefore no one to curse, no one to feel guilty, no one to feel any inferiority. Being human, if someone is still having that kind of a thing, it's a mental sickness or mental imbalance. So being a human itself is a blessing. So you are not only considering it and put into use. Otherwise, if you are not looking at, not contemplating on the body as a body or heap, you use it as a beautification and arousing lust or hate to the other people, or use it as a crane or a lever machine, or many ways you can use it. This is what you call the worldly knowledge. But when and where you use it as it is not a single entity, it's a agglomeration. Even within the in-breath, more and more you observe mindfully, you can see 1001 little in-breaths. Within an in-breath, out-breath, lifting of your leg, happening in 1001 different stages and episodes. Moving, dropping, stretching your arm, bending your arms, everything, activities or materiality, it is like a cartoon film. When it is in a real RPM, revolution per minute, animation happens. If you see a thin slicing of time or many frames per second, then you can see how it happens in a very abnormal way. How the breathing takes place, how the walking takes place, just like a puppet. So this is the way you are looking, we call insight, to the body as such. Once that you develop certain amount of mindfulness with respect to your body or corporeality as a heap, then you can see, according to each and every nuances in the posture junctions, there are respective feelings. Feelings are multivarious. So that feelings itself, for the sake of understanding or for the sake of clarity or discrimination or delimitation, the Buddha says many feelings are there in your household life. And some people like us think about renunciation, and even once you renounce, still the body is the body, and a lot of feelings, so you can separate it out. Feelings at your worldly sense or materialistic sense, or the same feeling or same way, even after renounced, a lot of feelings are there. So many people think after the renunciation, everything ceases to exist and you will be in a bliss. It is not the case. So you have to understand these feelings in three kinds, whether you are at the household, whether you are renounced, pleasurable feeling, painful feeling, and neutral or no pain, no pleasure feelings. Even that is a complete strange kind of understanding, because at home you never feel no pain, no pleasure. Whenever you feel, you complain, telling you feel lonely, you feel lethargic, you feel cornered, you feel outcasted. So we have a complete negative set of words instead of understanding no pain, no pleasure. Once you become renounced or coming out from the household life and go to the forest or sit under a tree or in a solitude place, still you have, and there you are being asked to keep pleasurable feeling and painful feeling by noting. Whenever the pleasure happens, note it as pleasurable. Whenever painful happens, note it as painful. So later you may find the notable or labelable pain and pleasure is very little. Most of the time, the kind of a feeling you feel not falling into the painful type or pleasurable type. But often you overlook them. Then you never proceed. Then one day you will understand, if you are keen enough to note, this is pleasurable, this is painful. Even if you put the painful feeling as painful, that very feeling is not standing or not waiting to get that label. Before you label it, changes into other one. Pleasure, painful feeling also sometimes change into the pleasurable feeling, or no pain, no pleasure, or even the pleasurable feeling, painful feeling. Even if you try to note it, they are not stable thing like that. Whatever the stability you expect, but the Buddha says you will understand it in a flux. Pleasure also never stable. Therefore, titassa anyatattam panyayati. Even though you try to label it as a pleasure, if you sharp enough, you will see they are not waiting to hold your label. Before you put the label, it is changing to either to no pain, no pleasure, or to the pain. So when you see it, you find the dynamic nature or flux. And then whenever these feelings coloring your mind, there's mental states. Many mental states, and you have no agenda, one thing, and you have no control and governing power, and it is working still in a universal law. Whether you are a male or female, you are learned or not, whether you are virtuous or not, whatever may be, the mind is working in a universal law, but never according to the commoner's wish. Therefore, when and where you understand the nature of the mind, it appears like a threat. It appears like something unexpected. So lucky enough, if you are keen and mindful on your body, if you are mindful on the feelings, then the mind develops a kind of a capacity to understand or tolerate or to be open with the mental state. But even then you must be prepared. And then you can understand the mind, when it's in the natural state, it don't care about moral shame and the moral fear. It is thoroughly untamed, uncivilized. Whatever the civilization, whatever the restrainment you are going to have, the mind never listens. Even if it is listening, only temporarily. And it is unbecoming. Some have to understand one's mind, but the Buddha, luckily, he says, Sadevake loke samarake sabbrahmake sassamana brahmaniya pajaya sadeva manusaya yankinchi dittan sutam mutam pattam pariyesitang manasa anuvicharitam manasa tamahang sabbang janami. Whatever the mental state in seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, tasting, thinking, maybe you are a deva, maybe you are Brahma, maybe you are a monk, maybe you are a Brahmin, maybe you are a king, maybe you are a male, female, any person, any nuances of seeing, hearing, smelling, touching, thinking, planning, daydreaming, fantasizing, I know. That's why it's called he is omniscient, and you can't think any bad thing more than Buddha. You can't think any good thing more than Buddha. So therefore nothing to hide. We are within the range. But our dirty nature is, we regretting it is my mind, it is my mental state, so you are the person is suffering. You never feel like revealing it. You never feel like sharing with others because you, of your upbringing and cultural restrainment, you suffer. So therefore, when and where you meet the true friend or noble friend, you feel like sharing, and he or she will tell you, it's nothing to worry, it is a human mind. You experience one facet at a time, and you can't everything experience at a time, one donkey at a time, one mental state at a time. And when you keep on practicing, you will see nothing you can claim this is me, mine, myself, or nothing is done due to your volition or will. Sometimes yes, but most of the time it is not so. So when and where you understand the humanity representing through your human errors, you become naturally spiritual. That is the spirituality. As far as you are hiding, they grow bad smell and fungus and poisonous gas. Moment you expose it, it is become Dhamma. As far as you are hiding, you are brooding the poisonous elements. Moment you open it, they become Dhamma. And the deepest thing in the teaching of the Buddha is explaining the different nuances and different shades of your mind. No one is exceptional as far as the mind is concerned. And then only you can understand mind-made objects. Whenever you see something, you add likings and dislikings. Whenever you hear something, you add likings and dislikings. Whenever you smell, taste, touch and think, together with your own thinking, you feel sometimes elated or you feel sometimes depressed, and that is called mind-made. And they also, you can see as if you are a second person, outsider. So that's how the four foundation of mindfulness is developing. And then the Buddha says, after that to die, I have proclaimed my disciples. First, the four foundation of mindfulness. And once that is underway, the way developing the four right kinds of striving. That means the how to proceed, how to improve the already started enterprise. That means when and where you try to be mindful, you find often you are not. But anyway, you know, now you're little bit mindful, you know the definition, you know how to start it whenever the time conditions you. And when it is not so, it is no. So under such circumstances, you must understand, facilitate the improvement of the mindfulness or sustenance of the mindfulness or discontinuity of the mindfulness. For that, you have to exert energy in a very systematic way. That is to say, appropriate amount of energy. So that is what called the four ways of striving. And it is also presented in a very systematic way. Idudaayi or udaayi again. Bhikkhu anuppannang va papakanang akusalanan dhammanang anuppadaya. Chandang janeti vayamati viryang arabati chittam paggannati padahati. The first and foremost kind of the energy or striving is to how to unreason defilements to not to arise. For the sake of unreason, non-reason defilement to not to arise. There is a kind of zeal, chandan janeti or desire. There is a kind of try you have to give. First and foremost, you have to understand, now your first and foremost kind of energy is to, or desire is to, not to arouse unreason type of defilements in your stream of consciousness. For that, you have to have a kind of a zest or desire to keep the stream of consciousness, not to allow unreason defilements to arise, and for that you have to try, and you have to exert energy, and then you develop the mind in such a exertion, and then all you can strive through. So therefore, if someone can understand theoretically each and every moment as and when it arises, it is pure, it is enlightened. And due to your past conditioning and the way you react into that, the way you assume it, you make it defiled or not. So therefore each and every thought moment is afresh. So how can you handle that arising moment without defiling, considering it is undefiled, non-defiled by itself, and how to deal it, not to arouse defilements, we can say in simple English, non-reaction, unassuming, and that is the way to deal with the thought moment. If we are to take an example, whenever you decide, my primary object is this, either the rising and falling, or in-breath and out-breath, or your sitting posture, you know, as far as mind is, it's the primary object, no defilements, no tension, no frustration. But sound come and disturb you, thoughts come and disturb you, and pains, bodily pains come and disturb you. And suppose now your mind is jump into from the primary object to that kind of a distraction. Now you suffer, thinking that this sound is defiling me, or this pain is defiling me, or thought is defiling me. But in depth, or in fact, or in reality, the Buddha says the sound or thought or pain is intrinsically by nature, it is not defiled. If you hate it, then the defilement arises. Or if you love it, then the desire arises, the lust or hate. So if you can hear the sound without a lust or without a desire, I will simply say you can't hear. Only you hear if it is arousing desire, likings or disliking. So therefore, any sounds come along or avenue with your senses, or we'll say eardrum, as far as it is not making any likings and disliking, it never go to your memory. It goes null and void. So therefore, any sound you record, it is applicable for any visual objects or smell or taste. If it is very extremely likings and disliking, it becomes very engraved in your memory or in your personality, and ultimately you get motivated accordingly. But when and where it comes to the center, that sound, that may be light or smell, taste or touch or thinking, never make any sense. So therefore, if you know the sound happen, but I don't care, I can just still be aware that the sound has sound, or to say stop sound at the sound at hearing, rather than adding likings and disliking, then you can see that sound also unarisen with unaroused defilements. Unless otherwise you develop hatred or you develop desire. So sounds can happen, no one can control it. And that is not the world. World is the Hindu explanation. This whole world is aroused by the energy called sound. Neither. By manipulating sound, you can create anything. That's why they keep on chanting mantras, and when the good vibration happen, they can make any illusion. They can make anything magically. So therefore, sound is sound. If you can stop at that level, without adding or without reacting or without assuming, then still defilements are not aroused. So today we got an example telling someone is sitting, other person is walking. The walking person is making thud sounds. The sitting person is brooding, hating. I will write a letter, I will told Venerable Dhammajiva and ask him to whack the fellow 3 times so that he must or she must understand not to walk in the meditation hall while I am sitting. So this is the way it is happening. So you never stop at that listening. Your mind is storytelling, fabricating, and no more you are a meditator, no more you are a listener, no more the other person is walking, you can see fabrication happen. So unarisen defilements can come into the stream of consciousness if you are not mindful. Then lot of misunderstanding. You feel other person as bad, he is a person with a soul, he is creating purposefully and intentionally distraction for me. I came from all the sacrification here, and that bloody fellow do not care about that. At least even Dhammajiva is not taking care about that. And the retreat organizer also not caring about that. So I have to go to the human rights court and complain something. You see the fabrication, see the storytelling. And if that particular person knows, first and foremost, zest, a desire must be not to defile my stream of consciousness with unarisen defilements. So you can see what a magical world we are living in. Any moment, the unarisen defilement can arouse. And soon it arises. Our rational thinking is to attribute to the other person. Never understand it is due to my attitude, it is due to my reaction, it is due to my assumption it arises. No one except Buddha. Imagine sound happens, you see the hate, it may be not directly related to these 4 kinds of striving. Imagine sound happens, hate arises, and if you understand the hate came due to this sound, but my main object of meditation is sitting posture. Amidst of that hate and the sound, can I go to the neutral sitting posture? So that definitely soon it go to that sitting posture, again mind become neutral, free of defilements, then you are the Buddha. That's it. That is what you call Nibbana. You have a burning and red-handed, you have caught the fellow, sounds, hate. But the sound may be related with the other person. The hate, definitely your upbringing, your way, and therefore moment you to see as and when the sound arises, as and when the hate arises, then you are the Buddha. Because you have already appointed your primary object, you know how to go back, and you know that is your primary duty, prime duty, because to keep the stream of consciousness unpolluted with unarisen defilements to arouse. For that you have to have the zest or the desire. So that desire is something maybe based upon the faith on the Buddha, or maybe faith upon the Dhamma, or your precepts, or maybe on your faith on the Sangha. Whatever may be, you have to develop that kind of a zest, or that kind of a arouse it. That's also very aesthetic thing. Can someone awaken that kind of a zest? When it is aroused, he has to take effort. Even the sound happens, even the hate happens. Can I go back to the breath? Or can I go back to the primary object? Can I see through sounds? Can I see through hate? So kind of effort you have to exert, you have to strive. But the mind is so much with the anger, or with the sound is again and again happening. So under such circumstances, you have to arouse energy or not it. Sitting. Or in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. You have to do noting in order to highlight the neutral object while the arousing objects are throbbing right round. So there you discreetly, discriminately select the object which is going to give a less and less defilements or no defilements. So therefore there should have a already stored energy so that you can release at that time and energize yourself, arouse energy and exerting the mind, because mind is so cussed, so trained to find fault with the person who is walking, find fault, and that is why the anger arises. It says it is fighting for my rights, therefore this anger is friendly. It is my anger. That's the way you are you are justifying. Instead, exert your mind to say, here and there, amidst of sound, I can go back to the primary object. Here and there, I can understand I'm angry, but still understand my sole duty is to come back to the primary object. So that exertion never going to teach by our parents. Never. No, any classroom I have seen on the earth to prescribe it and to promote it, and no any injection or any surgery, nothing can impose this kind of a thing into you. It is not happening for the beginners. One has to keep on developing, awaken the zeal or zest or desire, and he has to take little effort and then exert energy and then striving, and then this exertion in the mind is going against the grain. Still the sound is happening, still the anger is there, but you try to see through that. We can easily say this is what you call insight means, or vipassana. You are not worrying about the discipline in the person making sounds. You are not going to justify your anger or irritation or fault finding happening. You understand them, they are the barriers, but can I see through? There you may understand, these sounds are not continuous. The anger never like a wall. It is like a net. There are a lot of holes, perforations in the sound and in the anger. That is why when you are observing the in-breath and out-breath, if you are to see within an in-breath, 1001 in-breaths are there. That means lot of crevices are there. Lot of holes are there. So in the sounds also, if you can see, sounds are happening in quantums. One comes and then again happens, then again happens. If you with angry, it appears like a flat wall. If you are not angry and if you can thin slice the time, and you can see within that sound, still there are some chances for you to be mindful. And whenever the anger sets in, you become bewildered and you never think that you can penetrate the anger, you can penetrate the sound. Under such circumstances, exertion never happens. Because you are mad now. Mad with that tiny thing, but back at home, you will listen to it and no case as such. While you are meditating, you never tolerate such a tiny thing. And if you open the eyes and see, there is no person also sometimes. This is a magical thing. You attribute, and the Achancha, he mentioned, the tradition is to, when a monk becomes senior and meditating, they have to go to the carnal ground and sit in the darkness, in the aloneness, and to practice. So he is going with so much of fear and anxiety. So he went there and make a tent and living, and the people came and cremated and burial ground finished, they have gone. Only he is sitting. After a while, he started thudding sound. And he thought maybe someone is going outside, but it is coming closer and closer and closer. So he understands the amount of fear, amount of hatred arising, but it is overwhelming. It's coming, one by one. So, he is a kind of a radical person, and he contemplates Metta Bhavana and Dajagga Sutta and then Bojjhanga, everything, all in vain. The sound is appearing, coming closer and closer, and he thinks now, maybe a person, but it is not telling with the person also, but coming. Ultimately, he tried, forget about everything and get the searchlight and see a dog is walking. Immediately he say, once he see it, what a difference. What a kind of fear he was developing and fabricating and kind of thing. So our mind once in the wrong track, it can make the whole world, we can create it. And you are not necessary to die and go to the hell or neither world, you are already in the hell. There's no other person can decide that you are to go into the nether world and you are going to the Yamapalla and come and put you into the boiling hot water or something like that. You're already in the hot water. There's no person even. So unreasoned defilements can arouse due to your utter foolishness. You don't see, but because of your desire for your body and the life. I mean, it is natural. So if you know it is my desire must be to not allow non-reason defilement to not to arouse, and there should have a kind of a desire. Otherwise you will be overwhelmed by these emotions. And with that you have to some effort. You never do that kind of effort unless otherwise you have the primary object. Due to you have a primary object, only others appear like a threat. If you have no primary object, you are with the monkey mind. No theme in your life. Jumping from one to the other. So once you appoint a primary object only, you can add the others as secondary objects or sometimes a threat. So they has to also come. Otherwise, how can you try? How can you make an effort? Once it is effort, it never successful in the first shot. And therefore you have to arouse again and again an energy. And there are exertion. And one day, imagine you can see through it, then all the striving power happens. Then only you can strive through. So therefore, understanding unreasoned defilements is, I am giving only an example, 1,001 ways you can appreciate it. So, leave aside any sound, leave aside any fabrication, leave aside any about storytelling. When and where you are in the primary object, here and now, if you can appreciate it, simply you are not allowing any unreasoned things to arouse. If you are not appreciating, that is because that the primary object is boring. Primary object is very monotonous. That is why it is keeping you away from the appreciation. So therefore, if you are appreciating how nice, I am sitting symmetrically, I am sitting relaxed way, and I am with my body. So there is no chance for the sounds, pain, thoughts to come. Even it is happening, your very appreciation is giving you the full immunity, full reinforcement. So that right from soon after you sit, you can do it. Because you have been instructed to be sit and calm and quiet, you can be there. It is happy like success. But more and more you to be in here and now, sitting, the boredom sets in, monotony comes, and you develop unknowingly kind of a hatred to that, then mind is jumping to the nearby other objects. Whenever it is going there, you start fighting, war, and then hardly you have some kind of a desire to come back to your primary object. Hardly any desire. You to try and see, even the sounds are there, they are not kind of thick wall. You can go and see whether I am sitting, whether I am doing in-breath and out-breath or rising and falling. And if you can see a little bit of effort, then only one day you will shoot the target. And then you can be more energized and exert, and striving can happen. So therefore, this particular task, you can't delegate to someone. You can't let other merits to perform for you. You can't do before the incident happens. You can't do after the incident happens by contemplation. But when and where it is happening, and if you can understand, I would recommend or I would appreciate more than when you are in the primary object and be aware that unarisen defilements unaroused. That's one kind of mindfulness. There may be another kind of mindfulness. You are being threatened by a sound or hate or light. Still, you know you have a kind of a desire. You have a kind of a trial or trying. And still you here and there you can go to the primary object. Still the sound is disturbing. Still the tincture of hatred is there. You can come to the primary object mindfully. That kind of mindfulness is very, very sporty. That kind of mindfulness is very, very adventurous, diversified. That is what you have to develop. And once you develop, supposing, if you wish to give it your dear and near one, you can't. And if you wish to rob the nearby person's mindfulness, you can't. And even the American government wish to impose taxes, they can't. No. Impossible. That is why the Buddha says you become so endowed with, you become so with the peace of mind and contentment. This is what we are lacking throughout our samsara. Whatever the other thing we can compensate, this is something very original. You can't have other ways more than apply yourself directly. So therefore you see, you must have mishaps. You must have unmindfulness. You must have crazy fellows to walk on your top of your head. Otherwise, how can you practice this? So therefore, Vebhusado says, one day you will thank that particular person. He is the one diversifying. Oh, make my mindfulness very colorful and branching out, growing, flowering, fruiting. So that particular person is the one giving more exerting of your mind. So that always we are fully endowed with, because so much of mad fellows are around us. This world is full of that. So you are using it because you assessed, your desire is to idudāyi bhikkhu anuppannang va pāpakānaṁ akusalaṇa dhammāna na uppadāya chandan janeti. Develop a desire, vayamati, try, chittam paggannāti padhāti. Exert, and then keep on doing. And once you see the way to go back to the primary object amidst of that, whether you are in a sitting or walking or whatever may be, even you are back at home, even you are in a multitasking, the same principle. So once that is developed, in uppannanga akusalaṇaṁ pāpakānaṁ akusalaṇaṁ dhammānaṁ pahānāya. Sometimes you feel you are already in a bad state of mind or unwholesome state, unwholesome state in the mind, and you must know how to recover your mind to the neutral. So that is very tricky. Can one understand when one's mind state is unwholesome, that my mind is in unwholesome state? That is a kind of a thing you have to, it's a homework for you all. Practice and see, whenever you are presently in an unwholesome state of mind, can one understand that now my mind is in an unwholesome state? Even if you understand, is it a skillfulness or unskillfulness? the people call moralist, then they consider it as unskillful. Understanding my mind is in the unskillful state, that recognition they consider as something wrong. But the Buddha says that is the real thing in your humanity. You not only you understand the wholesome state as I am in the wholesome state, you have the capacity. When you are in the unwholesome state of mind, you can understand that. And the only thing is you have to protect is not to get regret upon that. Not to worry about that. That is the truth, where you can change all the worries and all the regret into a reason to be glad. Kind of a rapture. Because if you can understand when you are in a bad state, red-handed, now my mind is unwholesome state. I would say understanding a wholesome state, you get good. But if you can understand the unwholesome state, you are better. Always you must understand, that's a very tricky thing, but it is not you, it is an endowment in the human mind. You must mobilize it. You must arouse it. Because otherwise you will ever attribute to the other people, those who create the problem, and you may suffer. Your mind, state of mind is full of unwholesome, and you will never think about how to recover it. In order to recover, first and foremost thing is understanding as and when you are in the unwholesome state. Now I am in the unwholesome state. It is like in the medical science, the diagnosis. If the diagnosis is correct, any pharmacist can recommend the medicine. The trick is, in the specialist, is to diagnose. And in the diagnosis also, to understand the primary cause and the secondary causes. Whenever a disease happens, the primary germ or the bacteria, it is attacking you. Whenever your immunity system goes down, all the surrounding bacteria, even saprophytic bacteria, come and attack you. And your symptoms are complicated. So if you are a person treating to the symptoms, often you may treat the symptoms of the secondary symptoms, and still the root cause may be remaining. So therefore, it is not a responsibility of doctors, it's the responsibility of the Medical Research Institute. What they do is, they take saliva sample, blood sample, pus, urine and everything of the patient and develop all the pathogenic agents and see different colonies. And they have to grow them separately and reinfest a healthy person and see who is giving secondary symptoms or primary symptoms, and that reinfestation only you can make sure it is not due to one single germ, pathogen, but it's the multivarious pathogens. Some of them are primary, some of them are secondary. And the second set of patients, that is in the MRI, they take another sample and again culture it and again reinfest. This is called the Cox postulation. He says, by one test don't arrive at a decision, apply again, and second time don't arrive at a decision, apply the third time, and then only you can separate it out, what is the primary cause and the secondary cause. So therefore, whenever you become unmindful, whole gamut of defilements are come and infest you. So therefore, to analyzing that is not easy for a beginner. But the beginner must understand, without analyzing whatever the techniques you are going to use, it is just like treating the symptoms. You don't know the root cause, so therefore 1001 times you have to understand. So moment you understand something wrong somewhere, that very first click or first understanding is enormously important. So therefore the Buddha says in the Itivuttaka Pali, Dve me bhikkhave tathagatassa dhamma desana pariyayena bhavanti achyang accheto passata ayam patama dhamma desana achyang accheto disva tat nibbindata virajyata vimucchata ayam dutiya dhamma desana. It says, when the Buddha is preaching, his teachings are twofold. First thing is, see the mistake as mistake is very important. On the spot. Then only he can assimilate a method to heal it or recover it. So many in our society, they are not happy to understand the problem as problem. They are jumping to have an answer or medicine. Each and every such medicine is leading to iatrogenic effect. They are treating symptoms. They don't understand the basic question. And that very understanding, the Buddha says, you have to be your own physician, you have to be your own medicine, and mindfulness is going to do that. Therefore, whenever your mind becomes unmindful, if you have any kind of a sixth sense to understand something wrong somewhere, that is the crux of your whole meditation results. So you have to always open to that. Not only that you are happy with whenever you are having the mindfulness and the concentration and the wisdom, it's good. But whenever you are not mindful, whenever you are not concentrated, whenever you are not wise, wisdom, and understanding, is no harm. And that is the way out. So therefore, uppannannam va papakanam akusalanan dhammanam pahanaya, whenever you see your stream of consciousness is defiled, that very understanding, don't consider it as a wrong. If you consider it as wrong, you are the moralist. You are completely negative. You hate it. Your mind never think about way out. So that is why Buddha is heavily appreciating the morality. And at a time, morality become a hindrance. So we have to use the morality and we have to drop it. Is something you have to learn by practice. It is not the knowledge you are born with. It is not the knowledge that you are learning in the classroom, but it's appropriate technology. When and where happen, see red-handed, my mind is with hatred, my mind is with the lust, my mind is with the sloth and torpor. That very understanding, if you become ashamed, or if you become regret, that is what you call ignoble or not a true state. So that kind of a the state of mind, the Western researchers, they find some are born with that kind of investigating kind of mind, some are not. For those who are not endowed with that kind of genes or background, whatever the meditation they do, they never come to the vipassana sphere. They will be very good people with generosity, morality, concentration, but they never go to the vipassana because they don't know how to drop this moral aspect. Or diagnosing yourself as and when you are defiled is a very great state, because not the God is going to decide it. Not the justice department going to decide. Not your parents going to decide. Not your teachers going to decide. You are the person. Whatever the other people are doing is secondary or indirect way. So understanding, for that you must have kind of a desire and give a try. Get a try, nothing like trying. And then exert little energy. Definitely not to diagnose it. Soon you diagnose how is the return journey. How it come back to the primary object. To monitor that. The return journey, you need energy, because usually you are regret. You are in some kind of critical, negatively critical, unless otherwise you have that kind of energy. So the moment you understand you are unmindful, moment you understand that something wrong somewhere, the kind of a trip starts. If you can understand, does that kick going to land your mind back at the primary object? Or when it come back to the primary object, is primary object calm and quiet? Mind falls calm and quiet to the primary object? Or is it agitated? And when the way back, do you need any kind of adverting, monitoring? So we have very, very subtle nuances you have to understand. And that for that, a lot of energy is necessary, specifically for the first time in your life. When it's happening, it is going against the grain. Usually what happens is you get regret and you negative and you find fault with the others and find sometimes fault with you and agitated and blaming the people. But instead, if you understand, you may see there's a state where you are using some of your energies to understand uppannanam akusalanam dhammanam pahanaya. Recognize your state of mind is full of defilements, full of bad state, unwholesome state, evil. But that seeing, that understanding is supreme purity. It's a supreme clarity. If you can recognize it, and it is almost like Buddha. Understanding as and when it happens. So it says that Krishnamurti elaborated little further. He said that yesterday also when we are going, there was a serpent, but it was going, therefore you can easily understand. But when they are resting, they are coiling and be under a leaf. So when you are putting the leg down, sometimes you can see the leaf and there's a little projection. You don't know whether it is a creature or something like that. And imagine just before putting your leg, if you can understand the head of the poisonous snake, Krishnamurti is asking, do you need any instruction to take the leg to the right side or left side or run away into the left or east? Do you ask him, going to the astrologer to ask that what to do? No, body knowledge is there. That body knowledge you don't believe. It is not you. It's a matter of seeing this and understanding or not seeing and misunderstanding. If you misunderstand and come closer, the serpent is so swift, attack you in no time. If you see it, you are in the safe side. Imagine this house is wired for the electricity and fans and kind of thing. There's an exposure in a wire. And there's no label. So when you are doing sweeping and kind of thing, you are about to touch it. And if you imagine and see this an unwanted exposure, maybe high electricity is there, better not to touch. While you are closing, you are utterly safe. But without that, if you are going to touch, electricity is not have understanding whether you are a male or female. It has no decision or a sympathy on your maturity, or whether you are a yogi, or whether you are a kapakarya, nothing, nothing. Soon you touch, you can't do nothing. So that very understanding is the savior. So understanding that high potential defilements in your mind, it's usually more or less never recognize this as in a diagnostic background. So the yogi, those who have the primary object, they are the people understand, they know what to do, go back to the primary object. Simple, straight answer. Imagine if you do not have a primary object, if you do not have a pivotal point, if you do not have the benchmark, where to go? You have never developed any solace. You have never developed any oasis. You have never developed any kind of a neutral stage. So therefore, first Buddha explained the 4 foundations of mindfulness, and then expose yourself to the day-to-day activities. Whenever you become vulnerable, knowing that you are vulnerable is one thing, and second thing is, it's a negative thesis, and what is the thesis? You must go back to the primary object. The whole world talking meditation, talking techniques, they are negative. They only explain you are invulnerable. What to do next? No one put forward with the thesis. The Buddha put forward mindfulness, primary object, your body. It's an endowment. So before it happening into such a vulnerable situation, you must have already developed mindfulness, already developed return way back to your body, already developed return way back to your primary object, is called way back home. And then that is the point you must be clear in interviews. Whenever something goes wrong, you are the person understand what to do next. You can't go to the astrologer. You can't go to the specialist at that time. You must know, simply be mindful. Come back to the primary object. Be here and now. Not going to the distractive position is separate. And going and recovery by yourself, may be too early to tell it like that. But simply you can say, then you can meditate without a teacher. You know where to come back. Because you know how to handle the already arisen defilements. And once that only happens, only you get kind of a confidence or adhimokha for you can foresee whenever the mindfulness is, the mind is with the undefiled or defiled position, you know little bit of how to handle it. And when that happens, you understand anuppannānaṁ kusalānaṁ dhammānaṁ uppadāya. You have to be endowed with, armed with, or weapons for this path. So it is not simple faith on the unfounded faith or superficial faith is not enough here. You have to have a okappana saddha, faith on your past mistakes, not on the Buddha, not on the Dhamma, not on the Sangha, your past mistakes. Each and everyone is refining, then only it come to the perfection. So therefore you never throw away to the dustbin. You develop your own past mistakes, or simply we can say your best friend, mindfulness. So faith on the mindfulness rather than any other things. So I would like to explain, whole faith is not on the Buddha, not on the Dhamma, not on the Sangha, but on the mindfulness. And then energy to create what? Not the Buddha statues, but anything, energy to create more and more mindfulness. Come back to the mindfulness. And early mindfulness with the weaknesses now slowly reinforcing, and that is called momentary mindfulness is now going to catch the momentum, and you can see mindfulness also evolving now, slowly evolving, and then more and more the faith, energy and the mindfulness come into align with the samadhi or mind concentration. It is natural outcome. So you must understand, up till that, if you are searching and chasing behind the concentration, you are chasing behind without due causes, without due energy, without due alignment. So therefore that concentration, even it happens, it is not persistent. So therefore now you know, if the concentration is not there, be faithful about your past mistakes, have energy to again and again go back to the mindfulness, and mindfulness must be continuous, not only the momentary, and then you find the concentration can happen, even if it is dropping, even if it is leaving you, never mind, it never leave you permanently. Again it can come. And that is what you call the wisdom. There is no other crystallized wisdom you can purchase in the supermarket. This is the wisdom you develop. So you know, in order to do away with the 5 hindrances, you must have your weapons. You must be armed with that to work with. These are faith, energy, mindfulness, concentration, and the wisdom. And they are lacking thing or limiting factor for each and every one of us is the mindfulness. If you have too much of faith, destroying wisdom. Too much of wisdom, destroying the faith. Too much of energy destroying the concentration. Too much of concentration destroying the energy. But the mindfulness is like the 5 fingers in your hand with the middle finger, biggest, longest, most strong. And if it is not there, all the others are fighting each other. Only the mindfulness can make the pacemaker or peacemaker. So therefore, understand the role of the mindfulness. That is why the Buddha says, Satikvaham bhikkhave sabbāttikam vadāmi. O monks, I prescribe mindfulness to be mobilized in each and every circumstances, each and every experience, or each and every object. So if you, without that, if you say, my concentration destroyed and you are regretting, you are finding fault with yourself, no way. You have to go back to the root cause and develop the mindfulness, it will come. So therefore you know how to arouse unreasoned skillfulness, the wholesome states, because there are no permanent states. It is the matter of alignment. It's a matter of gradual development. So you must understand what are the things, ingredients for that particular state of mind, and rather than worrying and expectation, you must fulfill it, and then only you see when and where they are fulfilled, no one can stop it. Without aligning them, no one can expect that also. Whenever the faith, energy and mindfulness is there, definitely outcome is the concentration. Without that, even if you expect it to happen, and even if it is given, if you given it, even if you do not wish it, it comes. Because they are universal laws. So therefore, understanding the unmindful state, unreasoned thing to unarouse, a reason thing to get rid of, mind becomes fairly free. So then only you can think about how to welcome wholesome state. Sabba pāpassa akarana, then kusalassa upasampada. Do away with all the bad things, then only you can be aware of the what is the kusala or what is the wholesome. Otherwise what you call kusala or wholesome is your sickness decided by your sick mind. It may be infiltrated with or mixed up with your conceit, your egotistic idea, or going to have a different agenda. When and where the mind is free from this, even for momentary, unwholesome states, it is naturally mind is altruistic. Venerable Dhammika mentioned that one day, he heard that Krishnamurti has come to Sri Lanka and he is in the national guest house. So being a monk, he wanted to go there, and the guard told, no, it's only for the distinguished guests. So what he did was, there was a indoor and outdoor, exit and in. He went to the outdoor and started walking backward. And then the guard asked, what are you doing? No, you are giving laws and principles and kind of thing. I am a monk. I am going to the exit and go backward. Then he said, okay, Bhante, you can go. So when you go there, he is talking with a little bit of people and a very nice atmosphere. And Krishnamurti used to say, when your mind is free of everything, it's full of compassion. So the Dhammika, he is not happy with the statement. He says, can I ask a question? Yes. The compassion is something to grow. You see, when the mind is free of all the thing, it's naturally full of compassion. Then Krishnamurti has a very nice smile. He says, free mind is the mind compassionate. It's a natural state of the mind. It's only distracted by the defilements, then only you have to grow. But do away with all the negative things, mind is altruistic. But even then you have to facilitate it. Even then you have to advert your mind to it, that facilitating or you are doing away with negatives. And positivity sets in. So in the present day Buddhism, in Sri Lanka, they are thinking about pinkama, doing wholesome thing, merits, and never they think sabba pavasa karna. Not to do evil thing. The first do no harm. That's a Socrates statement. First do no harm. But by doing merits, what kind of calamity and distractions we are making? How? In that sense, coming and sitting in 1 hour on this cushion, what a merit. I can put it in a very nice way. You may start laughing. You fellows back at home making so much of problems. When you are come and stay in 14 days, they are very happy back at home. They are very happy you come to a meditation center because they can mind their own business. When you go back on the 14th day, they are so shivering. That's why they are happy and contributing Nissarana. Please, Bhante, keep these people as long as possible in the Nissarana. Otherwise, they are utter nonsense. Do away with all the merits you are doing. Think about not committing bad things. You can't kill here. No robbery, no theft, misappropriation necessary. No sexual misconduct necessary. And verbal mistakes. So this is the art, the Buddha says. You have to have the samappadana and kind of a striving, 4 kinds of striving, not to do something. That is what you call good. Anything you do, evil. I am sorry to say. And first time, after Schopenhauer, he mentioned any willful action is evil. And then everyone was shocked to hear the Western philosophers, and he keep on reiterating it. He was a very decent fellow. And then came the Friedrich Nietzsche, started that, and he distributed in such a way. Ultimately there's one book in Buddhist Publication Society, Arthur Schopenhauer and the Nietzsche by Dhammajiva ko. This is how nicely he present, by not doing something, you are accumulating so much of merits. As far as you are breathing, it's a defilement. As far as the breath ceases to exist, no defilement. As far as you are thinking, it's a defilement. Whenever the thinking ceases to exist, lack of defilement. As far as you are adverting the mind, vitakka vichara defilements. If you can do it effortlessly, no defilements. It's so clear. So therefore, by not doing bad things, don't go it by just mere not doing. It's a something, invariably something good, something wholesome. You have to promote it. You have to facilitate it. You have to advert it. And that is what we happen in the 3rd day, 4th day, 5th day, 6th day in the retreat. You start to feel, those who are progressing start to feel, being here itself with the people right round, there's a kind of a thing happening. So the main thing is to maintain it. So once you realize that when you are sitting in 1 hour, you can compare. If you are not sitting on the cushion, how many talking, how many encounters with other people. Each and everyone is a repercussion. Utterly. And even if you do not believe Arthur Schopenhauer or Nietzsche, you have to understand, Sabbe sankhara dukkha, Sabbe sankhara anicca. Anything you do willfully, anything you do in the volition, dukkha, suffering, anicca, impermanent. So whenever nothing happens, you do, and still if you endow with that moment, and you are to appreciate it, only the Buddha can tell you. Not any benevolent person can recognize this as the anuppannānaṁ pāvaka kusalanam dhammanam uppadāya Chandan janeti vayamati viryang arabati chittam paggannati padhati. The aroused, already arisen, wholesome state, you have to arouse them, and for that you must have a desire. That means do away with the bad things. So it is coming. When it is happening, you have to try again and again. Whenever the bad thing happens, not to hating the bad things, but apply again and again to the primary object. Mindfulness. Be with your body. Be here and now. And then you have to exert little because it is boring. I am repeating. You have to exert again and again because being here and now is boring. So you have to break the ice and continue. And you know how to exert your mind and the striving. Because it's a matter of appreciation. It's a matter of your viewpoints. It's a matter of your outlook to the present moment. And once you become aware of that, you naturally become a spiritual being. You know what to do. What to do is just being. Do nothing. Summairi. In Tamil. It's in English they call just being. But not at the beginning. Right from the beginning, if you start not doing, you are a lazy bones. You are lethargic. But once the mind come up to that state, and then understanding and do away with all the effortful thing and try to understand the effortless walking, the effortless sitting and understanding, effortless washing your dishes, the effortless way that you do things, is very aesthetic. And then any amount of people can work in one place, no much of a friction. Because everyone is understanding, everyone is have the desire not to distract others. And the last one is Uppannānaṁ Kusalānaṁ Dhammānaṁ Titiyāya Athammosāya Bhiyo Bhavāya Vepullāya Bhavanaya Paripuryāya Chandan Janeti Vayamati Viryang Arabati Chittam Paggannati Padhati. Once you recognize this mental state, you are in the comfort zone, least amount of friction, then you have to, that state you have to establish, or you have to keep it as long as possible. Maintenance. Asammosai, don't get bewildered on that. At that time, doubt arises. At that time, uncertainty arises. At that time, fear arises. So you must not bewildered, but that whenever the defilement arises, no doubt. You boldly go it. Whenever the purity arises, natural, the doubts. Therefore, asammosaya, without bewildering, you have to understand by 2 points. Buddha is presenting, this state is due to your practice. It is not an accident. Second thing, this state, less and less defilements. Verify it. Is this calm and quiet state is by accident, or after sleeping tablets, or any anesthesia? No, by practice. And when it's happening, if you understand it is less and less defilements, that is the way you have to be verify that verification through your history. What is your pathway from the defiled state to this less defiled state? So you are the very person verifying it. But verification is a must. Otherwise doubt arises. Otherwise the fear arises. Uncertainty arises, so it is called fear of freedom. Even when you go to the freedom, even if you go to the unknown, the fear. It's very destructive. It is the way making this negative energy called anger and irritation. So you have to asammosaya, without bewilderment, and bhiyo bhavaya. Not only that, you have to, even this boring nature, even this monotonous, even this no pain, no pleasure situation, cultivate more and more. See the facilities to increase it. Bhiyo bhavaya, vepullāya. You must develop the mastery. How to master it. How to develop it. Bhavanaya paripuryaya, cultivate it more and more. And at that moment, before stopping the sermon, I would say, you are in a walkover. There is no opposition that time. No opposition. The area is full free. Only thing is your doubt. Only thing is your fear. Only thing is your uncertainty. And bloody fools consider this fear, uncertainty and the doubt as knowledge. There's no way out because you don't have faith. You don't have backing precepts. You don't have confirming historical or mindfulness to confirm the way up to that point. So therefore Buddha can't do anything at that moment. He says at that moment even, you do not cultivate it because of the uncertainty, fear or doubts. So don't facilitate it as something called knowledge. It is like the apple in the garden where the God asks you not to eat. Once you've eaten and you seduce the Adam, you are deprived of the paradise. If you are innocent enough, you have already earned it and you are destined to the paradise. So therefore going up to that level and protecting itself and cultivating it's a kind of a thing, way of appreciation. And when you go there, you find when we had the sensuous pleasure, so much of jealous, so much of fighting, backbiting, one-upmanship. But once you go up to that level, it's utterly a walkover. And you can see only few people, if it is available, they are also very benevolent, they are also very noble, true people. And the ground is there. Whenever you go back to the unmindful state, again this fighting each other, envious, jealous and there. But I would say that jealous and bias and backbiting also very important to understand this situation, the relativity. Without that you can't entertain this. Therefore there should have that. Don't throw away completely. Have little back in your bag. The little bit of fighting, little bit of backbiting, little bit of jealous and kind of thing, and see. But they are null and void when you go to this spiritual situation, but don't throw away. It has its value. So therefore when you keep on doing, everything appear like an adventurous or like a hobby, and you don't feel like striving there. It is like autopiloting, it is going as far as the energy is concerned, but don't play that game at the beginning. At the beginning you have to strive. You have to exert, you have to note. And once it has come up to the balance, and then only you know how to put into the autopiloting or how to do effortless way. And this timely would have talk in the latter part of the retreat, because the early part, first, second, third day, very difficult to communicate with this kind of thing. At that time you have to keep on fighting with little bit of experience. Only when the Buddha is presenting it, some people can get the rationality of presentation. Hope this will give you the chance to understand appropriate energy to apply in appropriate time. With that you save energy as well as get the maximum this peace of mind or least frictional area, and ultimately learn the way out of this frustration and the tension. With that remark, I would like to sum up today's talk. Thank you very much for listening.